Chapter 741. Immortal Zombie Discussion. Speaking of the door of the discussion hall, it had quite the origin. It was created by the founder of Northern Plains Zombie Alliance. This predecessor's name was already lost in history, but his methods were simply divine. The door was filled with all sorts of down marks. Some people had guessed that consumable immortal goo were used on it. Only immortal zombies in Northern Plains could be acknowledged by the door and would be able to push it open. If it was not someone who ascended to a goo immortal in Northern Plains, their immortal aperture world would have the heaven and earth chi of other regions. Once their hand is placed on it, they would be repelled. If one was a Northern Plains goo immortal, but not an immortal zombie, this door would heavier than a mountain. They would not be able to push it at all. Although Fang Yuan was not born in Northern Plains, after reaching Northern Plains, he had adapted to the environment and had ascended to an immortal in Northern Plains, thus this door did not hinder him at all. Darkflow Giant City had expanded many times throughout history, but this door had been preserved intentionally. The members of Northern Plains Zombie Alliance were very confident in this door. When they heard Huang Quanwang's words, their gazes towards Fang Yuan became milder. Yin Lu Gong nodded. Huang Quanwang is right. You too, take a seat. You are just in time for the meeting. In addition, give Guyi some credit. He recommended a new member. According to the rules, he should be given 300 contribution points. Fang Yuan knew that recommending a new member had benefits, but after hearing this, he immediately turned his gaze towards Guyi beside him. Guyi felt ashamed when he was stared at, like he had taken major advantage. He pulled Fang Yuan's arm. Come, Brother Sha, sit beside me. Everyone saw this and felt a deeper impression of Fang Yuan's ignorance. In the discussion hall, the immortal zombies sat nearly in a circular manner. Only the direction that led to the discussion hall's door was left empty, forming a path for them to walk in and out. The other directions were filled with seats. These seats were not in one row. From high to low, there were 3 rows. The lowest row was for rank 6 immortal zombies. There were the most number of people on this row. The center row was for rank 7 immortal zombies. Only a few were present. The highest row was empty. It was for rank 8 immortal zombies. Guyi dragged Fang Yuan with much enthusiasm towards his seat. His seat was not empty. There was a will there. The appearance of the will greatly resembled Gu Yi. Guyi waved his hand, and the will entered his mind. He immediately asked Fang Yuan to sit down. The meeting is not always attended in person. If we are busy, we will use a will to participate instead of our main bodies. Brother Sha, do you have wisdom path Gu worms? If you do not, I will give you one. Guyi said in a low voice. Of course I do. Fang Yuan replied. He expressed ignorance in relation to Zombie Alliance, but he did not want everyone to think that he was a complete newbie. The effect of wisdom path goo worms was common knowledge among goo immortals. He had to know them. Fang Yuan answered as he sat to the left of Guyi. The 2 seats beside Guyi were empty. There were so many seats, most of the immortal zombies were seated far from each other. Although there were more than 20 of them, most were wills, only a small number attended in person. Seeing that Fang Yuan and Guyi had sat down, Yin Lu Gong coughed. All right, now we will start the meeting. First, we will talk about the important affairs. Saying this, he pointed at the table. An image was shown. A spherical figure rose up from the center, turning into a volcano. This volcano was quite strange. It was short like a gourd. It shook intensely, spewing lava out at times. Above the volcano, thick smoke was rumbling, almost forming a dark cloud and blocking out the sunlight. The flame furnace has erupted. I'm sure everyone knows this. This is a troublesome affair. We have to settle this by suppressing it as soon as possible. The longer it is dragged out, the harder it is to deal with. Our initial assessment is, if anyone can successfully suppress the flame furnace, they will get 1,000 Zombie Alliance contribution points. Yin Lu Gong said. The immortal zombie began to converse with each other softly. Guyi introduced for Fang Yuan. This flame furnace is a great place for goo refinement. It is especially good for refining fire path goo worms. In the history of Zombie Alliance, there was once a refinement path immortal zombie who refined immortal goo in the flame furnace. But for the last few hundred years, we have not seen any refinement path grandmaster in Zombie Alliance. The flame furnace was left forgotten. At most the leader only used it several times. Because it was unused, it was also not maintained, thus it is erupting more regularly. Fang Yuan nodded. Guyi continued. The flame furnace is extremely hot, especially the inner core area. It is like a sea of fire. Often when the issues happen, fire path immortal zombies would go. But the fire path immortal zombie has to have some refinement path background. They have to preserve or even fix the goo formation that was set up. Otherwise, forceful suppression would destroy it. They might as well not do anything. If the mission fails, not only would they earn nothing, they might even lose out. Fang Yuan mentally understood this clearly. They had to be a fire path cultivation and have refinement path attainment. This resulted in very few eligible people. No wonder those in the hall only discussed it for a while before keeping quiet, turning their gaze towards a certain will in the hall. Yin Lu Gong broke the silence. He looked at the will, saying, "In the past, leader went to suppress it personally. But now that leader is in Eastern Sea, within our zombie alliance, you are the most suitable person, craftsman Huda. Huda, what do you think?" This red will thought about it before saying, "My cultivation level is too low. It is very hard to suppress the flame furnace. But if everyone agrees, I will not reject it. Except that 1,000 contribution points is simply too low." Yin Lu Gong nodded. 1,000 contribution points is only an initial estimation. In that case, we will raise it to 1,200. Are you willing to accept that? I am willing. Huda said. Good. Now, on to the second matter. Yin Lu Gong did not drag on. He changed the topic. A Yiksha octopus has appeared in Earth Trench. It is wreaking havoc. It is seriously affecting our extraction of the black oil. A while ago, Dr. Yin Xian and Landlord Lei Yu were injured by this ancient desolate beast. If you can chase this beast away, you will get 1,000 contribution points. If you can kill this beast, you will be given 2,000 contribution points. Fang Yuan heard this and his heart jumped. The treasure that he wanted to take was deep within Earth Trench and was guarded by a group of Yiksha octopuses. This treasure was the reason why he joined Northern Plains Zombie Alliance now.I in the circular area. The image of the volcano changed. It became an octopus monster, roaming around in Earth Trench. Large numbers of tentacles were moving around, causing waves in the thick black oil. Seeing this, the discussion hall became much quieter. It was not easy to deal with an ancient desolate beast. Not only did ancient desolate beasts have rank 7 Goo immortal battle strength, the immortal zombie themselves were inferior to ordinary Goo immortals. They had much to worry about. An intense battle carried great risks. If they could not gain something, they would return with a huge loss. Even if they won, they would need to weigh it with their condition before battling. Winning the battle, but losing out in terms of profits, they might as well not fight. All of the immortal zombies here were astute. Seeing no answers, Yin Lu Gong turned his head towards Dragon Commander Yicha beside him. Dragon Commander, this Yiksha octopus is compatible with your business. Why don't you take on this task? But Dragon Commander Yicha shook his head, rejecting on the spot. I'll not hide it from you. I received Qin Bai Sheng's invitation and have planned to attend the auction. There are some items in the auction that I have been searching for years. Now is a crucial time. I cannot take the risk. But I am willing to hand out an additional 600 contribution points to this mission. Once he said that, many of the rank 6 immortal zombies' eyes flashed. Killing this Yiksha octopus was not easy for rank 6 immortal zombies. But to force it to retreat, it would not be difficult for several rank 6 immortal zombies teaming up. But this mission only awarded 1,000 contribution points earlier. When split among them, it was too little. Now that Dragon Commander Yicha took out 600 contribution points on his own, some people were moved. Battling with an ancient desolate beast was risky undoubtedly, but as long as the benefits were enough, risks were not an obstacle. Immediately, 3 groups of people stated that they could accept this mission. The first 2 groups were alliances of rank 6 immortal zombies. The third was a single rank 7 immortal zombie. After some negotiations, this mission was taken by the rank 7 immortal zombie. Seeing that this troublesome mission was taken by someone, Yin Lu Gong sighed in relief mentally. Next is the last mission. It involves the Red Fiend Divine Boat. Red Fiend Divine Boat? Fang Yuan's gaze shined. He quickly thought of that glorious and huge flying boat that charged freely in the battlefield during the 5 regions chaotic war. Gu Yi beside him explained softly. You just joined Zombie Alliance. It is normal that you do not know. Red Fiend Divine Boat is a famous immortal goo house in history. It is very powerful. Earlier, a Northern Plains lone cultivator coincidentally obtained the entire recipe for the Red Fiend Divine Boat. But because he did not have the ability to refine it, he tried selling it everywhere. Leader tried to buy this boat's recipe, paying a huge price and buying about half of this recipe. Fang Yuan thought. This Northern Plains Zombie Alliance leader had quite the ambition. Immortal goo houses were more complete than immortal killer moves. They were the symbol of super forces. Basically, every super force owned an immortal goo house. Northern Plains Zombie Alliance's leader wanted to obtain an immortal goo house. That was obviously an intention to elevate this branch to the level of a super force. We encountered some problems. Yin Lu Gong said in a low tone. The goo immortal who sold the divine boat's recipe broke the agreement and did not want to deal with us anymore. He wants to sell the Red Fiend divine boat's recipe and the core immortal goo's recipe in the auction for a good price. How will Zombie Alliance deal with this problem? The immortal zombies started discussing again. The auction again. These recent days, I have been extorted many times, all because of this auction. An immortal zombie was full of grievance, but it was not Gu Yi. This Gu immortal has quite the guts, merely a lone cultivator but actually breaking the agreement with our zombie alliance. Kill him. We have to kill him. Otherwise, if news spread, all of our zombie alliance's face will be lost. Although zombie alliance is weaker than a superforce, lone cultivators have no place to bully us. The immortal zombie shouted. Most wanted to battle. Fang Yuan nodded secretly, although immortal zombies had much to worry about. When huge benefits were involved, they would still dare to fight it out. But he did not favor Zombie Alliance's chances, because in his previous life, the force who controlled the Red Fiend divine boat was not them. Chapter 742. Earth Trench Black Oil. The lone cultivator who sold the complete recipe for the Red Fiend divine boat was only rank 6 without any background. Eventually, the Zombie Alliance decided to send a rank 7 immortal zombie and 2 rank 6 immortal zombies to search for this person, in order to maintain Zombie Alliance's reputation. Of course, the most important reason was to obtain the complete recipe of the Red Fiend divine boat. But in truth, Zombie Alliance had already gotten most of it. Only the few remaining core immortal goo recipes and the secret methods on how to coordinate the goo worms were left. Flame Furnace, Earth Trench, Red Fiend divine boat. After these 3 matters were settled, the atmosphere in the discussion hall was relaxed. Yin Lu Gong continued, pointing at the table. Next, we will talk about other matters. His finger tapped the table, emitting a buzzing noise. The immortal zombies looked at the formerly empty space as the image changed again, turning into 4 huge pillars. On each of the pillars, there were lines of words moving around. Are there still any missions that have not been reported by everyone? Yin Lu Gong said. Everyone looked around. No one stood up. Missions could be turned in at any time. They did not need to wait until a meeting. Gu did not want to do the mission of guarding old Earthwood, but the time limit was not up yet. Handing in the mission early would cause some of his contribution points to be deducted. Very well. Now you can put up your own requests. Yin Lu Gong said. Once he said that, the entire discussion hall became heated. Voices overlapped each other. They were talking about goo recipes for goo refinement, collecting certain materials, appraising a certain goo worm, getting information on certain matters. All sorts of requests were put up, with varying content. Fang Yuan spoke too. He wanted to ask for a method to get rid of his immortal zombie status, a method that could revive him. This caused much laughter around him. Brother Shah, you have not made an oath yet. You do not have a Zombie Alliance token yet. Without contribution points, how can you put up a mission? Guy reminded him. So that's it. Fang Yuan frowned. Don't be anxious. After the meeting ends, I will bring you to get your new identity token. This token can record all of the contributions you have done for the Alliance. Furthermore, your request is the request of all of us immortal zombies. You do not need to purchase it specially. Look at the few missions at the top. Guy pointed at the ever-changing image. Fang Yuan's gaze turned around, and he saw that at the top of the mission board, there were several missions. One of them had much larger font than the rest. Selling the research results of how to get rid of the zombie status and regain life through generations of work in Zombie Alliance. Fang Yuan read it. There are prices stated there, but even the smallest research results need 20 contribution points. Guy was very familiar with this information. In truth, every immortal zombie was very familiar with the details of this mission. What was the reason most immortal zombies joined Zombie Alliance? Was it not to find a method to get rid of their immortal zombie status and revive themselves? The reason for creating Zombie Alliance was also to research on how to revive immortal zombies. Brother Gu, are there any immortal zombies in Zombie Alliance who have revived due to these research findings? Fang Yuan asked again. According to rumors, there seems to be cases of it. Gu said in an uncertain tone. Seems to be. Fang Yuan frowned. You have to know. A lot of the research findings here are priced at 1,000 contribution points or more to exchange them. After you join the Alliance, you have to sign an agreement and will not be allowed to sell these research findings on your own. Guy laughed bitterly as he said. He saw Fang Yuan frowning even more deeply, stating, You do not need to worry too much. At least I can guarantee that these findings are not fake. I had exchanged for one of them previously. It had great use. If you can obtain these findings, you will be able to step on the foundation of these predecessors. You will save much effort. Fang Yuan nodded. Zombie Alliance was an organization that responded to the mentality of the members. By using the research findings as the bait to keep the members working, almost no immortal zombies could stay away. Even if the immortal zombie exchanges for many findings, as long as they have not revived, they would still need to work for Zombie Alliance. The most amazing thing was that Zombie Alliance preserved some hope for the immortal zombies. Even if this research finding did not work, maybe the next one could help them to revive. Fang Yuan did not need to ponder upon it to know that the prices would be extremely high. They had to use an immense amount of contribution points to exchange for most of the research findings. But thankfully, the inheritance in Earth Trench was left behind by a great expert immortal zombie. There are research findings inside for the rebirth of immortal zombies as well. In my previous life, because Northern Plains immortal zombies obtained this, their battle strength surged rapidly. In fact, for a period of time, Northern Plains Zombie Alliance closed themselves away from the rest of the regions. It was even more powerful than the main branch, Eastern Sea Zombie Alliance. The reason why Fang Yuan entered Northern Plains Zombie Alliance was to obtain that inheritance. Fang Yuan had little interest in working hard normally and accumulating contribution points slowly in order to exchange for the research findings in Zombie Alliance. After all, the time and effort expended was too much. After a while, the discussion hall became silent again. All the immortal zombies had put up their missions and stated the contribution points for them. Everyone's gazes were fixed on the image in front of them. Some were looking around while others were thinking. Yin Lu Gong continued to direct the meeting. We will now issue missions. Do it one by one. Do not be noisy. First, it will be the mission of feeding the ancient desolate beast Half Moon Qilin in Zombie Alliance. I'll do it. I'll take this mission. I want to compete for this mission. The moment Yin Lu Gong spoke, several immortal zombies responded. Fighting for this mission. Gui explained to Fang Yuan softly. The Half Moon Qilin is an ancient desolate beast. It is not easy to feed. But its pregnancy period is about to end. It is going to give birth to a Half Moon Qilin soon. These young Qilin are born as desolate beasts. As they grow up, they would develop into ancient desolate beast Half Moon Qilin. Many members in Zombie Alliance are trying to take advantage of this. They want to be close to the young Qilin to gain an advantage, making it their own, and establish a strong relationship between them before paying the contribution points. So that is it. Fang Yuan understood. So this was the reason. No wonder so many people were fighting over the mission. After all, the Half Moon Qilin would grow into an ancient desolate beast after maturing. It had battle strength equivalent to rank 7 Gu immortals. Even Fang Yuan was slightly moved. But he was only moved. He had just arrived and had a secret motive. Blindly contesting now would attract unnecessary animosity and attention. It was not good for him. Regarding the Half Moon Qilin's feeding, everyone fought over it intensely. Eventually, Yin Lu Gong lowered the contribution points of this mission to 300, before some people gave up and the sole winner emerged. Feeding the Half Moon Qilin was not an easy task. Sometimes, when the Qilin has a bad temper, ordinary rank 6 immortal zombies could not handle it. They might even get injured. Most importantly, when the Qilin is pregnant, it would feel great pain. It would damage the surroundings to divert its attention. This was a dangerous process. Just 300 contribution points made many immortal zombies back out. And even if the Half Moon Qilin was born, the immortal zombie feeding it would only be the first to establish a relationship. This was only a head start. When they truly competed for it later, they would still need to bid a high price. After the mission of feeding the Half Moon Qilin was a mission to gather Rui fungus. Rui fungus collection area is between Zombie Alliance and Lu Tribe. Every year, when the Rui fungus ripes, the two forces would split them. But because Lu Tribe's power is bigger, they would take advantage of us. The difficulty of this mission is on that point. An immortal zombie with high cultivation level is needed to hold the ground, but they cannot be too overbearing. Guyi explained. With Guyi beside him, it was much more convenient for Fang Yuan. This mission was also quite popular. It fell into the hands of Granny Yuan. This immortal zombie old lady not only had rank 7 cultivation level, she was also closely related to Lu Tribe. With her presence, Lu Tribe would not go overboard. Next is a request from the Superforce Yu Tribe. They want us to provide another immortal zombie for Yao Huang to do research, to improve his healing immortal goo. The remuneration for this request is quite a sum. Lu Gong said. Seeing this mission, most of the immortal zombies showed an indescribable expression on their faces. Letting someone else do research on them, it was quite hurtful to one's pride. They would lose face. But on the other hand, the researcher was Yao Huang, one of the 5 great rank 8 Gu immortals in Northern Plains. Furthermore, the reward for this mission was truly profitable. Everyone looked around. They did not speak. Lu Gong expected this scene. He smiled lightly as he looked at Fang Yuan. I wonder if Xiao Huang is interested in this mission? Fang Yuan immediately shook his head, giving a forced smile. I have no interest. He had too many secrets on him. Simply the 2 apertures alone could not be easily exposed. Lu Gong nodded, no longer urging him. But his intention, other than to probe Fang Yuan's personality and foundation, was to induce some of the other immortal zombies to make a move. As he expected, soon, several immortal zombies spoke up, wanting to accept this mission. These few people competed, but their voices were not loud. They spoke softly with expressionless faces. After all, being used as research material was very damaging to one's reputation. Gu was beside Fang Yuan, explaining this to him. Fang Yuan knew the situation of these immortal zombies. They were those bottom-tier immortal zombies. Because they were stuck between reputation and benefits, they chose the latter. The following missions were of all different aspects. There was a huge number of different missions. There was a mission requesting the Superforce Yuan tribe to return an immortal Gu. Back then, Zombie Alliance's leader had loaned an immortal Gu to Yuan tribe. Before the leader went to Eastern Sea, she instructed them to urge Yuan tribe to return the immortal Gu. But Yuan tribe had long exceeded the loan period, yet they refused to return it. Zombie Alliance would send members there every year to request for it, but they had always ended in failure. Not only did Yuan tribe find excuses for themselves, they even chased away Zombie Alliance members using force when the situation escalated. Initially, no immortal zombie wanted to take this mission. Lu Gong had to raise the contribution points, and it was finally accepted by someone. There were also requests for purchasing glass soil and diamond soil, missions to capture beast groups or collect souls. The final mission was related to Fang Yuan. It came from Fairy Li Shan, who was looking for souls everywhere for the production of Guts Gu. She even went to Zombie Alliance. The most popular mission was to enter deep into Earth Trench and collect black oil. Black oil was extremely helpful to immortal zombies. Spreading the black oil in the dead aperture could slow the speed of the disintegration of the blessed land. In the outside world, or to other Gu immortals, it was a very useful Gu refinement material that was widely used. It had a huge market. Black oil from Earth Trench was the most important trading item in Zombie Alliance. It was akin to the sale of Guts Gu for Fang Yuan, but the scale of the black oil trade was much larger than the Guts Gu trade. Every time immortal zombies went deep into the Earth Trench to extract black oil, other than handing up the amount required by the mission, they would keep the rest for themselves. Thus, the profit of this mission was publicly recognized as among the best for immortal zombies. As a result, almost everyone fought for this mission. Fang Yuan wanted to compete for it as well. If he could enter Earth Trench through this and secretly take that inheritance, it would be ideal. But it was a pity that he had just arrived. He did not have the Zombie Alliance token yet. It was not wise or realistic to fight for it blindly. Furthermore, this mission had a time limit too. Fang Yuan was busy with the auction and refinement path convention. He did not have time to deal with this mission. Eventually, this mission was taken by 3 immortal zombies. In winning the 3 spots on this mission, not only would these 3 victors not have any contribution points as rewards, they even had to pay several hundred contribution points to Zombie Alliance. From this, one could see how profitable the extraction of black oil was. Chapter 743. Harboring Malicious Heart. Black oil is valuable in itself, but as it can delay the shrinking of blessed lands, its value is a level higher to immortal zombies. Fang Yuan pondered inwardly. He was also coveting the black oil. His blessed land was constantly disintegrating, and a lot of space inside had already dissipated. Black oil was similarly useful to him. However, he needed to go through Zombie Alliance to get this black oil. Northern Plains Zombie Alliance's main headquarters, Darkflow Giant City, was located above the entrance of Earth Trench, and they used much of the Alliance's strength to guard this entrance. Zombie Alliance sent large amounts of black oil out every year, but they had fixed quantities sold for this. There were few goods, but the demands were high. It was completely a seller's market like the business of Guts Gu. Thus Fang Yuan could not meddle in this aspect. He had allied with Fairy Li Shan and He Lulan, but their force was too small and could not match with super forces. So I need to make my move from inside Zombie Alliance. Accepting this task is one way. Fang Yuan engraved the mission of gathering black oil in his mind. The conference continued. The conference hall had dim lighting. Even if most of the over 20 immortal zombies had participated with their wills, it still seemed dark and gloomy. The whole conference continued for close to a day and a night. Fang Yuan participated in the whole process, roughly understanding the position of Zombie Alliance in Northern Plains. Roughly speaking, Zombie Alliance's position in Northern Plains was only slightly lower than Super Forces. But from the missions, one could see the Righteous Path Super Forces were clearly in tacit agreement to suppress Zombie Alliance. Zombie Alliance had a much more cooperative relationship with Demonic Path Gu Immortals, especially with Snowy Mountain Blessed Land, a Demonic Path headquarters in Northern Plains. Zombie Alliance could be considered both a righteous and a demonic force. This position was related to the higher-ups. Zombie Alliance's higher-ups were all immortal zombies. There were almost no immortal zombies that did not want to regain their living states. These immortal zombies came from all walks of life with all sorts of identities when they were alive, and after death, they gathered for similar purposes. As long as it was related to the goal of revival. Zombie Alliance would be interested in do everything possible to get it. This infringed upon many of the Righteous Path's interests, and many methods that could not be exposed openly in the Righteous Path. Zombie Alliance also frequently used. This led to another characteristic of Zombie Alliance. They had a lot of members, but they also had a loose structure. There were over 20 immortal zombie-level members in Zombie Alliance. Even Snowy Mountain Blessed Land could not compare to this amount. Even if immortal zombies were weaker than living Gu Immortals, over 20 of them was a great power, and if they were to truly be united, they would have already been a super-level force. However, Zombie Alliance's barrier for entry was low. This could be seen from Fang Yuan's admission to the Alliance. The immortal zombies had varying origins, and it was very difficult for them to be united. This was the reason there were many cases of immortal zombies being extorted by Gu Immortals recently. After the conference ended, Fang Yuan left behind a malicious will in the conference hall. He then followed Gu Yi to another hall, where he received his Zombie Alliance token. This token not only represented his identity, it also recorded Fang Yuan's contributions to Zombie Alliance. Besides the token, there was also a set of information path Mortal Gu used to transmit information of tasks from Zombie Alliance, information about new members or members leaving the Alliance, or important information like the death of the members. Gu wanted to take his leave and suggested for Fang Yuan to stroll around Dark Flow Giant City. Now that Fang Yuan had the token, he could freely move around Dark Flow Giant City. However, Fang Yuan did not let go of him and dragged him around, walking and chatting, probing out some information from him. Fang Yuan focused on inquiring about the leader of Northern Plains Zombie Alliance. She was a female immortal zombie called Blazing Heaven Demoness. Her cultivation was rank 8 and her behavior was tyrannical and rampant. Her battle strength was especially prominent. Fang Yuan asked how it was prominent, and Gu Yu replied one sentence which allowed Fang Yuan to understand. Her lifespan had not reached its end. But she intentionally turned into an immortal zombie just to break through. Most immortal zombies were Gu Immortals that were on their last breaths and had no other choice. Naturally, there was many other methods other than to turn into a mortal zombie for Gu Immortals on their last breaths, like would Path Gu Immortals turning into tree men. However, these methods often had limitations. For instance, Strength Path Gu Immortals and Fire Path Gu Immortals could not turn into tree men. Turning into an immortal zombie was the most common method which could be done by Gu Immortals of every path. This Blazing Heaven Demoness was not someone who had no choice but to turn into an immortal zombie. Instead, she had done it intentionally. It was to make a breakthrough and increase her battle strength. If one thought just a bit, what was the extent of the increase in battle strength, the extent of the breakthrough, that made Blazing Heaven Demoness not hesitate to turn into an immortal zombie? Clearly, the extent of this breakthrough was sure to be extremely high and shocking. There is a rumor going around Zombie Alliance. It is said that the leader already has a method to revive. In the midst of the conversation, Gu lowered his voice and carefully told Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan smiled. This rumor was not groundless, since she turned into an immortal zombie of her own accord, who is to say she did not have a method to revive herself. Fang Yuan was able to extract much useful information from Gu Yi. Combined with the information Fairy Li Shan gave him and his own experiences, Fang Yuan was able to quickly gain a rough idea of Zombie Alliance. Gu Yi still had the mission of guarding Old Earthwood, and finally bade farewell to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan also left soon after. Before leaving, he climbed high and looked at the giant gully being guarded below Dark Flow Giant City. The giant gully was like the bloody mouth of a vicious beast, quietly opening up in the dense darkness. This was the entrance of Earth Trench, which was strictly guarded by Zombie Alliance, Yin Lu Gong, Dragon Commander Yu Cha, and Huang Quan Wang. 3 rank 7 immortal zombies took turns in watching over it. Fang Yuan was using 100 Li to observe this clearly. He knew that following deep into this entrance, the gully would expand by tens of times and even hundreds of times. Earth Trench was extremely grand, with such large space that it would not be a problem to contain innumerable Dark Flow Giant cities. It was also extremely deep and dark. Zombie Alliance still had not explored its true depths. One day, I will explore deep inside and take the inheritance, adding it to my foundation for a much brighter future. But now is not the time, Fang Yuan inwardly said. Even if he had not transformed into an immortal zombie, he would have tried all sorts of methods to get this inheritance. Fang Yuan retracted his gaze. His body rapidly rose higher and left Dark Flow Giant City like a large bird. After flying a huge distance, Fang Yuan finally left the darkness covering Dark Flow Giant City and saw the bright sunlight again. He changed his direction and flew high up in the sky before he finally confirmed there were no pursuers. Only then did he land down in an inconspicuous forest, arranged mortal goo and activated fixed immortal travel. Jade green light flashed, and he disappeared from the spot. The mortal goo left behind moved about, removing as many traces of the immortal goo aura as possible. Fang Yuan returned to Hu Immortal Blessed Land. While waiting for news from Fairy Li Shan's end, he started researching the Wisdom Path Killer move, Harboring Malicious Heart. This mortal killer move was not meant for attacking. Instead, it used Wisdom Path methods to transform a goo immortal's heart, causing the heart to be filled with Wisdom Path Dao marks inside and out, turning into a malicious heart. If it succeeded, not only could it use one's blood essence to automatically create large numbers of malicious wills, it could also reduce the amount of malicious wills consumed by a large extent when Fang Yuan used them to ponder. Unfortunately, this mortal killer move might be good, but it fit a normal goo immortal. Fang Yuan was a Strength Path immortal zombie. His heart was already filled with Strength Path Dao marks, and he was not a Wisdom Path goo immortal. The crucial point was his physical body was already dead, and was unable to nourish malicious will with his blood essence. Even transforming his heart into a malicious heart was an enormous barrier. Although Fang Yuan could not use the killer move Harboring Malicious Heart, he was able to gain much inspiration from its workings. In particular, the inner contents of the killer move had several similarities to a killer move Fang Yuan obtained previously. This killer move was Poison Breath, which he obtained from Fairy Li Shan. Poison Breath killer move could let poisonous breath be emitted each time one breathed, and as it accumulated, it could injure enemies. And Harboring Malicious Heart could let every heartbeat transform blood essence into malicious will. There were indeed similarities between the two. I am not a Poison Path goo immortal, and I am lacking in a Wisdom Path foundation, but since there is a common point, I might as well use Wisdom goo to test it. Northern Plains, Fengsien Grotto-Heaven. In the guest hall, the rank 8 goo immortal, Prince Fengsien, was sitting upright, while Fairy Li Shan and Qin Bai Shang bowed, requesting to leave. Go. I have many immortal goo that do not suit my path and need to be exchanged in the auction. You both are holding a good event for Northern Plains, preventing many fights and massacres. Very good. Prince Fengsien allowed them to leave, his tone full of encouragement. Lord Prince being unable to be present at the auction is truly a matter of regret for all of Northern Plains goo immortals. Fairy Li Shan flattered. Prince Fengsien shook his head. There is nothing to be done about it. I was mediating the heaven and earth chi in my immortal aperture when I was forced to come out because of the immortal goo. Now, it is the crucial time to manage my immortal aperture world. I cannot go out. But when the time comes, I will send someone to represent me. Yulan, send them off. 2 attendants were standing beside Prince Fengsien. These 2 were actually rank 6 female goo immortals. One was cool and refined like ice and snow. The other was delicate and beautiful, like a yellow flower in a lush valley. At Prince Fengsien's command, that cool and aloof female goo immortal stood up and first bowed to Prince Fengsien, before saying to Qin Bai Shang and Fairy Li Shan, "Guests, please follow. We have troubled Swordmaster Yulan." Qin Bai Shang and Fairy Li Shan did not dare to be conceited, and quickly replied. This Swordmaster Yulan was famous in Northern Plains. She cultivated Sword Path, and though her cultivation was only at rank 6, her battle strength was very strong and moreover, She had Grandmaster attainment in Sword Path. Swordmaster Yuan led the two in silence. The three walked along a long corridor and through several doors before they finally stepped out of the entrance of the Grotto Heaven and returned to the world of Northern Plains. Swordmaster Yuan, please stay. You don't need to send us off any longer, Qin Baixing politely said. His cultivation level and battle strength were higher than Swordmaster Yuan, but the latter had one of the few rank 8 Gu immortals of Northern Plains behind her. He naturally would not be arrogant. Swordmaster Yuan nodded and closed the entrance of the Grotto Heaven. Once the entrance was closed, there was no strangeness in the sky, and there was no difference between the sky and the surroundings. Fairy Li Shan let out a breath of cloudy air. We have paid visit to 5 rank 8 powers, and also came to an agreement with all of them using Mountain Pledge Gu, and have successfully invited them. Now, the situation is set. The auction is a certain event. It is all thanks to Fairy's Mountain Pledge Gu. Qin Baixing with a smiling expression. Saying this, he took out an immortal Gu and handed it to Fairy Li Shan. As per the agreement, this is the remuneration to Fairy, Qin Baixing said with sincerity and gratitude. Fairy Li Shan was moved. The auction had yet to start, but Qin Baixing already gave the remuneration to her in advance. Even though Fairy Li Shan had seen a lot and had done dealings with all sorts of Gu immortals, right now, she could not help but inwardly praise Qin Baixing's social conduct. Chapter 744, Vaguely Familiar Face. Then I shall not stand on ceremony. Fairy Li Shan laughed. Receiving the immortal Gu, she inspected it and placed the immortal Gu into her immortal aperture. This matter has been settled. We should split up and meet half a month later. Half a month later was the agreed date to hold the auction. The location was in Qin Baixing's Baixing Blessed Land. It was situated inside Crimson Reed Marsh. The two immortals went their separate ways on the spot, choosing different directions as they flew, not mentioning Fairy Li Shan, who was using Moving Perspective Cup, Gu, to contact Fang Yuan while she traveled right now. After Fairy Li Shan and Qin Baixing left, someone appeared in the entrance hall of Feng Xian Grotto Heaven. This person was dressed in a red and white robe, standing straight like a spear or sword. His eyebrows were sharp like swords. A divine light was flashing in his eyes. Under his amicable appearance, he was unbelievably self-confident. He had the disposition of a roaming, fierce dragon. His lips were curled up into a gentle smile. He was very gentlemanly, but also domineering. His arms were behind his back. He faced the rank 8 Prince Feng Xian with no pressure on his face, as if they were of equal status. But from his unconcealed aura, he was merely a rank 7 Gu immortal. Even Qin Baixing could not help but lower his head when facing Prince Feng Xian. Prince Feng Xian looked at this person as his attitude also changed. He was no longer mildly arrogant-like when he faced Qin Baixing and Fairy Li Shan. He really acted as if the two were of the same level. This rank 8 Gu immortal spoke. Feng Jiuge, have you really decided to take my place and join this auction? The rank 7 Gu immortal dressed in a red and white robe smiled as he nodded. That is exactly the case. Prince Feng Xian frowned. You became an immortal in Central Continent. The heaven and earth chi of your immortal aperture world come from Central Continent. It is different from Northern Plains. There are powerful experts going to the auction. Even rank 8 Gu immortals will be present. If you are discovered, it would be terrible. You have to know, all of Northern Plains Gu immortals are furious right now. They are trying to find the culprit who caused the downfall of Imperial Court Blessed Land. Before Dong Fang Changfan died, he deduced that the culprit is not from Northern Plains, but from the other regions. If your identity as a Central Continent Gu immortal is discovered at this time, it will have huge implications. When Prince Feng Xian said this, he did not hide it from the two Gu immortal attendants. The two female Gu immortals, including Sword Master Yuan, had no change in expression when they heard this. Feng Jiuge laughed brightly. Prince, don't be anxious. Look at my method. Saying so, a bright light flashed on his body. As his appearance changed, Prince Feng Xian gasped lightly, while Sword Master Yuan, who had a cold attitude, stared with wide-opened eyes. The other female Gu immortal, named Lu Yao, opened her mouth as she looked repeatedly between her female companion and Feng Jiuge. It turns out, Feng Jiuge transformed into an exact copy of Sword Master Yuan. He resembled her perfectly, as if they were twins. What method is this? Prince Feng Xian smiled. praising. Not only is the outer appearance flawless, you even disguised your Dao marks. They really resemble sword path Dao marks. Your aura is also no different from any Northern Plains Gu immortal. This is vaguely familiar face. Feng Gu said the answer. So that's it. No wonder, no wonder. Prince Feng Xian realized. He then exclaimed, only thieving heaven demon venerable could produce something so mystical and breathtaking. Feng Gu nodded. Unfamiliar face, vaguely familiar face, and familiar face. This series of killer moves originated from thieving heaven demon venerable. The former is a mortal killer move. It is nothing much. Vaguely familiar face is an immortal killer move with 3 immortal Gu as the core. Among them are 2 transformation path immortal Gu. When used, deception will truly be hard to tell. I obtained this killer move long ago in a chance encounter, but it has a flaw. That is, I need acting skills. If I act poorly, my tone could expose flaws in my transformation. As for familiar face killer move, there is no such flaw. Even if the acting is not precise, others will not feel sudden strangeness. It can even affect other people's perceptions and mentalities. Even if you transform into a non-existent person, others will still feel like you are their friend or acquaintance. Feng Gu explained. The immortals realized now why Feng Gu transformed into Sword Master Yuan out of everyone here. That was because this woman barely spoke normally. There was not much acting skill needed to disguise as her. Prince Feng Xian nodded over and over. Rank 9 venerables are all incredible geniuses. Their methods are out of this world. With this move, I will not be afraid of you getting exposed. Feng Gu laughed arrogantly. Even if I get exposed, who can stop me from leaving? Prince Feng Xian thought about a few days ago when he sparred with Feng Gu. He could not help but smile, praising. That is true. Your immortal killer move has incredible power. Even I, a rank 8 Gu immortal, would not want to take the hit directly. Feng Gu, your reputation is well-deserved. You really have the power to roam freely in this world. Feng Gu cupped his fists, speaking with sincerity. It is nothing compared to senior brother and junior sisters. You chose to ascend to immortal in Northern Plains for the sake of Spirit Affinity House's major task, staying hidden here for hundreds of years. I am truly full of admiration towards you. Prince Feng Xian's expression turned dark. He clenched his fist as he said, it is a pity that someone used our methods before I activated our plans, taking the fruits of our labor. This is definitely the doing of someone in the 10 ancient sects. Don't let me find out who it is, otherwise, humph. The truth was, the great Prince Feng Xian, one of the few rank 8 experts in Northern Plains, was actually a spy sent by Spirit Affinity House. Spirit Affinity House made a huge move in order to set up Prince Feng Xian. Spirit Affinity House undoubtedly gave up a lot of benefits in Central Continent. If Spirit Affinity House had one more rank 8 Gu immortal stationed in Central Continent, they would be able to fight for more benefits when contesting with the other 9 sections, but Spirit Affinity House was the leader of the plan to topple 88 True Yang Building. To complete this plan, they had to send Prince Feng Xian to Northern Plains to in Fang Yuan's previous life. Prince Feng Xian might have made many contributions and provided much help for the Central Continent Gu Immortals to destroy 88 True Yang Building. But in this life, Prince Feng Xian had not done anything yet, and the plan was already ruined. The culprit of this matter, the immortal zombie Fang Yuan, was already in Langya blessed land. He borrowed Mountain Pledge immortal Gu. Of course, he borrowed it for a fee. Fang Yuan paid Fairy Lishan 3 immortal essence stones for this. Point 3 was an extremely good deal due to their relationship. If it were another person, Fairy Lishan would not casually lend it, even if they paid 10 immortal essence stones. Lending immortal Gu carried risk. There was an example right here. Northern Plains Zombie Alliance's leader, Blazing Heaven Demonis, lent Yuan tribe an immortal Gu. Blazing Heaven Demonis was out in Eastern Sea. Thus Yuan tribe had been holding on to this immortal Gu, refusing to return it to Zombie Alliance, who had been asking every year. After using Mountain Pledge Gu to make an agreement with Langya Land Spirit, more than 10 coffins emerged from the cloud soil with a cry from Langya Land Spirit. These coffins were oozing with immortal auras. They were pure white as clouds. On the surface there were clouds forming and breaking down. It was the manifestation of a certain immortal killer move. After opening the coffin, the sleeping Gu immortal could be seen inside. In each coffin, there was a Gu immortal captive. A total of 13 coffins, that was 13 Gu immortals. Even though Fang Yuan was mentally prepared, after seeing this number, he was still shocked. So many captives? Fang Yuan opened his eyes wide. He displayed a somewhat exaggerated expression. Lang Yalan's spirit laughed smugly. He loved to see Fang Yuan shocked. He shook his head as he said, "Who am I? Think about it. These Gu immortals were simply courting death. They dared to attack my blessed land. Selling them is the punishment they deserve." Fang Yuan looked at Lang Yalan's spirit deeply. On the surface, there were only 12 desolate beasts in Lang Ya blessed land. To defend against the 3 waves of attacks from a mysterious force, the group of desolate beasts was insufficient. Lang Yalan's spirit's true methods were likely to be his prized immortal Gu collection. "I have some ideas. The number of immortal Gu in Lang Ya blessed land definitely exceeds the number of immortal Gu I have. Also, it seems that among his immortal Gu, or among the immortal killer moves that Lang Yalan's spirit owns, at least one of them has the ability to capture Gu immortals." Fang Yuan thought. Such a number of captives was not normal. Most of the Gu immortals who attacked were captured. Only a small number died from battle. Fang Yuan looked at the coffins one by one. He saw some familiar faces, like the 3 Hua Hai immortals, Loner Hongyu, and Gue Wang. As for the others, Lang Yalan's spirit introduced them to him. There was the Metal Path Gu immortal Tai Jiazi, Enslavement Path Gu immortal Great immortal Shui Xiong, Wood Path Gu immortal Mu Dian Song, a famous lone cultivator in northern plains, Carefree 4 sages, and a rank 7 Gu immortal, Wu Hao, known as Rushing Thunderhand. He had rank 7 middle-tier battle strength. Fang Yuan's horizons were broadened. Be it his previous life or this life, this was the first time he had seen so many captives of such strength gathered together that it was as if the Gu immortals were not worth anything. They were like cabbage sold in the market. Fang Yuan's joy gradually faded, and he showed some worry and solemnness to be able to gather such power and attack Lang Ya blessed land multiple times. This mysterious force hidden behind the scenes made Fang Yuan's heart shudder. The moment I sell them, I will become a thorn in that mysterious force's sight. Fang Yuan touched the coffin as he sighed. But before such huge profits, no matter how strong the mysterious force was, Fang Yuan had decided to do it. He was not someone afraid of trouble, someone afraid to take risks. He was a person in the demonic path. He was a risk-taker that if he chose to not take the risk, that meant that the benefits related to that risk were not enough to move him. Fang Yuan asked Lang Yalan's spirit. "You had interrogated them intensely, using many methods. Did you have no gains from it?" Lang Yalan's spirit waved his hand. "None. These Gu immortals were gathered due to various reasons. There were 3 crucial people who contacted them and organized the attack, while also providing information on Lang Ya blessed land. But these 3 Gu immortals have already died in battle. Even though I controlled my attacks, I could not stop their deaths. After they died, the situation became a little strange. Their souls perished completely. I could not even find a fragment of their souls." Towards the end, Lang Yalan's spirit gradually frowned. Fang Yuan frowned as well. Looking at the Gu immortal captives sleeping in the coffins, he was silent. Chapter 745, Incomplete Immortal Move. Fang Yuan planned to bring all 13 cloud coffins back to Hu immortal blessed land. Because they had made the mountain pledge, not only did Lang Yalan's spirit not stop him, he even gave Fang Yuan 8 mortal killer moves. These killer moves are the key to unsealing the immortal killer move Sleeping Cloud Coffin. Remember the order that I told you. That is the only way to unlock the coffins, otherwise, it will be destroyed along with the Gu immortals inside. Before Fang Yuan left, Lang Yalan's spirit instructed him. Fang Yuan nodded, memorizing all of the mortal killer moves. These mortal killer moves had no names. Their only use was to act as the key to opening the coffins, but towards Cloud Path Gu immortals, it had some reference value. Tai Bai Yunxing had cultivated Cloud Path on the side. Fang Yuan planned to give these mortal killer moves to Tai Bai Yunxing for reference. Fang Yuan brought the 13 Gu immortal captives back to Hu immortal blessed land successfully. He first summoned Hu immortal land spirit and asked for the latest news. Hu immortal blessed land was doing well. Hu immortal land spirit had been steadily doing what Fang Yuan had instructed her. She was progressively selling the Rockmen in the Blessed Land and buying some Fox groups. Hu Immortal herself was an enslavement path Gu Immortal skilled at manipulating Fox groups to fight. Her immortal aperture, Hu Immortal Blessed Land, was most suited to raise Fox groups. By following this route, eventually, desolate beast-level Fox groups would appear. It was a huge benefit. The profit was even higher than 3 transactions of Fang Yuan's Guts Gu. But this method took a long time to see effect. It needed a long, sustained effort. Hu Immortal was a lone cultivator. She was in a terrible state back then. After several earthly calamities, her finances collapsed, her losses could not be recouped, and her battle strength fell, eventually dying in the hands of the blue charm Lightning Shadow. The Gu Immortal's immortal aperture would experience calamities and tribulations. At certain intervals, it was like rounds of challenges that strongly limited the number of Gu Immortals in the 5 regions. There was another huge obstacle, that was the limitation of lifespan. Back then, Hu Immortal had Dang Hun Mountain. She wanted to use this unique resource to generate great income for herself. Her method was a wise choice. Even though raising Fox groups was in line with the proper management of Hu Immortal Blessed Land, the effect took too long to nurture. The longer it took, the more accidents could occur. Especially when Hu Immortal's circumstances were getting worse by the day, she could not afford to develop slowly. However, she did not have Wisdom Gu. She could not think of a method like using Air Sac Gu. She could only use the Guts Gu to raise the number of Rockmen and sell the Rockmen. Fang Yuan had used this method before. There was not much benefit, and it was very troublesome. The Rockman market was saturated. Why would it be as profitable as directly selling Guts Gu? Eventually, Hu Immortal failed and died in the earthly calamity. The fortune she left behind assisted Fang Yuan. At the crucial moment, it provided him with immeasurable help. Hu Immortal Blessed Land could be said to be Fang Yuan's initial startup fortune, the foundation of his rise. In his past life, Fang Yuan destroyed Hu Immortal Blessed Land in order to kill Feng Jin Huang. In this life, he became the owner of Hu Immortal Blessed Land. This was a wondrous contrast. Right now, since Fang Yuan could sell Guts Gu directly and had enough money, he could start to develop Hu Immortal Blessed Land again, going on the proper path that even the previous owner, Hu Immortal, could not accomplish. Slowly accumulating Fox groups and raising desolate beast foxes, this business was a long-term plan. Fang Yuan was in no rush, and he was not looking for short-term profits in this aspect either. After looking over the situation of Hu Immortal Blessed Land, Fang Yuan placed his attention on Immortal Crane Sect and Combat Immortal Sect. Hu Immortal Blessed Land was Immortal Crane Sect's subsidiary force in name. He had to pay some attention to Immortal Crane Sect. As for his younger brother, Gu Fangzheng, who was inside Immortal Crane Sect, Fang Yuan had stopped paying attention to him long ago. A mere mortal Gu master, even if he was rank 5, what could he do? Just like back then on Qingmao Mountain, as long as he did not hinder Fang Yuan's path, he would not even bother to stomp on him. He was too busy. Mortals were like ants. There was no need to waste time and effort to stomp on them. That dear brother of mine is probably dead now? Fang Yuan had a guess. Earlier, Fang Zheng had used mutual sense Immortal Gu to connect with Fang Yuan. This allowed Fang Yuan to gain much information, learning about Fang Zheng's predicament and seeing that he was in a blood pool, and the sad sight of demon flowers growing on his body. During this period of time, Immortal Crane Sect's situation was quite calm. They successfully resolved the problem of Great Heavenly Sword Sect. Great Heavenly Sword Sect had a newly emerged third Gu Immortal and was ready to get rid of their status as a subsidiary force of Immortal Crane Sect. Immortal Crane Sect was a righteous sect, even though their strength greatly exceeded Great Heavenly Sword Sect. Because of the rules of the righteous path, they could not attack forcefully. They could only recruit the Gu Immortal in Great Heavenly Sword Sect. Eventually, they succeeded in recruiting a Gu Immortal in Great Heavenly Sword Sect. It was that new third Gu Immortal. Great Heavenly Sword Sect controlled limited resources. It was tough enough to provide for 2 Gu Immortals. A third was too much for them. The newly advanced Gu Immortal was given alluring conditions by Immortal Crane Sect, joining them in the end. Great Heavenly Sword Sect lost the crucial person and their strength fell. They no longer had the foundation to detach from Immortal Crane Sect. They could only sign the subsidiary contract once again. However, even though Immortal Crane Sect stabilized the situation in the northwest area, they were heavily suppressed in the reincarnation battlefield. Lei Tan, who was the Gu Immortal stationed there, was heavily injured. He had no choice but to return to the sect to recuperate. Reincarnation battlefield was the publicly recognized #1 battlefield killer move in the world. It was set up by Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable himself. The 10 great ancient sects had taken control of this area for many years, engaging in fierce competition. Immortal Crane's sect's attention went back to the reincarnation battlefield again, for the time being. They had no energy to think of new ideas to deal with who Immortal Blessed Land. He Feng Yang, who was in charge of taking down, who Immortal Blessed Land had been busy recently in trying to find a way to heal his beloved Nine Palace Crane. Little Nine. This was undoubtedly good news to Fang Yuan. He could attend the auction in peace without caring too much about Central Continent. Fang Yuan paid attention to Combat Immortal Sect next. From some unimportant-looking news from Combat Immortal Sect, Fang Yuan sensed something strange. This news could deceive the other 9 great ancient sects for the time being, but to Fang Yuan, who was aware of the inside story, he could tell what was going on. It seems that Combat Immortal Sect has indeed deployed the battle strength of Gu Immortals to attack Starry Sky Grotto Heaven. Fang Yuan thought. What he did not know was, after he left, Immortal Monkey King Shirley was trapped inside Starry Sky Grotto Heaven. Combat Immortal Sect sent 3 Gu Immortals to reinforce him, but after they entered Starry Sky Grotto Heaven, they met with some obstacles as well. In this case, the Dream Realm in Starry Sky Grotto Heaven has been exposed to Combat Immortal Sect. The Dream Realm of Star Constellation Immortal Venerable has a connection to the predictions of Great Dream Immortal Venerable. Combat Immortal Sect will definitely attack the Grotto Heaven in secret. I have to make good use of my time. The advantages of my rebirth are shrinking rapidly. Fang Yuan felt a sense of urgency again. Ever since he started selling Guts Gu and had made contact with all the large and small forces in Central Continent, it had become much easier for him to gather information compared to before. But this information was very general. There were no secrets involved. It could not compare to Fairy Li Shan's intelligence, those that came from Northern Plains. Fang Yuan did not mind this at all. Many Gu Immortals placed importance on collecting information every year. They would invest a huge amount of funds to search for critical information or to sustain the avenue of their source of information. But Fang Yuan did not need it. He saved a huge sum from this, because with his rebirth advantage, he had a lot of intelligence about his previous life compared to the information that these Gu Immortals obtained through hard work and resources. It was much more comprehensive and important. After confirming the situation around Hu Immortal Blessed Land, Fang Yuan was at ease. He looked at Tai Baiyunxing's letter as well as He Lu Land's situation. Tai Baiyunxing was currently exploring Yu Lu Blessed Land with Shark Demon and some others. Immortal Gu landscape as before had completely restored Yu Lu Blessed Land's entrance. It made Tai Baiyunxing gain the favor of the others, and he successfully mixed in with the exploration group. As for He Lu Lan, she had recently undergone tribulation. Gu Immortals faced calamities and tribulations once in a while. Rank 6 Gu Immortals faced one earthly calamity every 10 years. 10 years was not in terms of the time of the 5 regions, it was the time in the Gu Immortals' immortal aperture. Because the branch of the river of time was different in every immortal aperture, the time flow was also different when compared to the outside world. He Lu Lan went through immortal ascension with the great strength true martial physique. She obtained a super-grade blessed land. The flow of time in her blessed land was extremely fast, even faster than Tai Baiyunxing, who was a time path Gu Immortal. It was at 1 to 38. That was to say, 1 year in the 5 regions would be 38 years in He Lu Land's blessed land. During this time, she would need to undergo 3 earthly calamities, with only 2 years left until the 4th. More than half a year had passed in 5 regions' time since the destruction of Imperial Court Blessed Land. He Lu Land's blessed land had already undergone 2 earthly calamities. This was the 3rd. Each tribulation was a trial, but He Lu Lan had Fairy Li Shan's help, and with several immortal Gu in her possession, if she met with any real difficulties, she could ask Fang Yuan for help. No news from her currently meant good news. After confirming the situation of the people around him, Fang Yuan had no more reservations. He fully committed to his plans. He calculated, only half a month was left until the auction. In Hu Immortal Blessed Land, because the flow of time was 5 times as fast, that was approximately slightly less than 2.5 months. The transaction of Guts Gu had to continue. At the same time, Fang Yuan planned to use the light of wisdom to try to follow up on that burst of inspiration that had emerged earlier. Time passed quickly. 2 months went by in Hu Immortal Blessed Land's time. Fang Yuan came out from the underground cave with a satisfied look. He had made great achievements in using the light of wisdom for deductions this time. He successfully fused the details of poison breath and harboring malicious heart to form a new, incomplete immortal move. Fang Yuan named it poison spit. Using immortal goo woman's heart as the core, it was called immortal, but this was not complete yet. Because each time it was activated, large amounts of poison would remain in the body, causing backlashes due to the toxicity. Thus, this was only an incomplete move. With my immortal zombie body, I can activate poison spit 3 times. More than that, and the remaining poison would be able to kill even my soul. The 2 killer moves are the crystallization of my wisdom path and poison path attainment. It is a solid foundation. With the unlimited inspiration brought about by the light of wisdom, I could use this foundation to create something new. Fang Yuan had already used the light of wisdom many times. The more he used it, the more he felt the benefits and convenience of the light of wisdom. He could tell that wisdom goo had immense value and an even more incredible effect.